Hi everybody, it's Marcus Collins with M&A Properties with the Arlington market update for March 2023. Lots of information to cover this evening, so let's get started. It's relatively easy to get information nowadays, but it's much more difficult to make sense of it and use it to your advantage. And that's really what we're about this evening. We're going to talk about the Arlington market, what's happened, a little bit about what happened in 2022, but really what's happened here in the first 2 months, so that you can take advantage of the information about what's happening in the market. So first things, where can I get lots of information? So I'm going to cover lots of graphs, as you'll see just as the presentation goes on. And we can find this information in really two places. First of all, it's our website, maproperties.com. If you scroll down and you go to the statistics tab, you will see a screen that looks similar to this, full of information about not just Arlington, but about 50 other towns as well. So inventory levels, absorption, sale price distribution, lots and lots of information there. So if you're interested in any of this, go ahead and take a look at it. There's a lot of information to be covered in that. So what are we going to talk about this evening? So I thought it would be worthwhile, as we're just at the beginning of March here, to give you an overview of what happened in 2022. There's a lot going on, as you'll see in a minute. So I thought that would be a good place to start, kind of set the scene for then, March 2023. We'll look at single families, we'll look at the condominium market, and then we'll take a kind of wider perspective, a little bit of an analysis of what's going on with the market, and then some of our predictions for 2023. So 2022, what we're calling a year of two halves. Lots happened. Very much different in the first half versus the second half. So let's kind of have a look and see how that kind of played out. So first graph you're going to see here is mortgage interest rates. The mortgage interest rates almost doubled, not quite, but almost doubled as 2022 progressed. You can see it there, the blue line. The green actually is the predictions for 2023. So you can see we are going to see a reduction in interest rates, but nowhere near as sharp as the rise we saw. And what that meant was that many buyers had less money. I mean, they were worried about the repayment costs, you know, and all of that preyed on potentially on buyers' minds. If we look now at home sales, about the same as we saw in 2021, something very similar, but actually if you go under the covers here, what you see is that the number of listings actually increased, but the number of home sales, as you can see, was slightly decreased. And what's happening here is buyers, it's specifically in the second half of the year, becoming that little bit more price conscious. So more listings, but actually less sales. Prices, what I've done here is I've broken out 2022 first half and second half. Those are the kind of slightly lighter blue bars you can see on the graph there. Very strong price growth in the first half of the year, as you can see, but it decreased in that second half. Still higher prices than we saw in 2021 and historically, of course, but still that reduction in average prices as the interest rates began, or the rising interest rates began to bite and actually began to have an impact on buyers' ability to repay, essentially. And then the last graph, which kind of gives another sense of that kind of year or two halves, more clearly, I think, with this graph, is a ratio that we track called the sell price to list price ratio. Now, this ratio is a great metric for buyer confidence, if you like. If they're confident in the market, then they will, push the prices that little bit higher. The idea of this is that if a house comes on the market at 800,000 and it sells for 800,000, then that's 100% sale price to list price ratio. As you can see, we had strong numbers in the first quarter, up to 116%. So what that says is, on average, a home in Arlington sold for 16% more than it was listed for. But as you can see, as the year progressed, and it's quite a dramatic drop, as interest rates rose, so that metric declined. And in fact, in the end of the year, we were below 100% for those homes that went under agreement in December, we were in October and December actually, we were under 100%. So clearly a big difference in buyer confidence in the second half of the year versus the first half, with 116% for that ratio. So that gives you a sense of that year of two halves, as we're calling it. Very much different market conditions in that second half as interest rates began to bite. You may, if you live in Arlington, you may well have received this in the mail. This is our 2020-2023 market review. There's lots of information in this publication. It's also on our website, and if you'd like a print copy, please let us know. We can clearly get you that. But there's lots of information. I just gave you really an overview of what happened in the market. There's lots of information in the market update, in the market review, that we published in early February. We produced it in January, and it hit mailbox in early February, so about a month ago now. So that's out there. If you say it's on our website, if you want to delve into the details, they're all in the market review. So let's take a look at March 2023, which actually what we're looking at, of course, is January and February. Only a couple of months, but interestingly, we've had rather a mild winter so far, although there's snow outside today, but we've had rather a mild winter, and that usually brings the buyers out, not quite in force, that they have a little bit more before that happens, but certainly lots of buyers on the market come out because of the mild winter. But let's take a little look and do a comparison here between 2023, first 2 months, and 2022. Now, the blue graph you see here is 2022. It's the cumulative sales, essentially. We kind of add them all up as we go along. The pink color is the 2023 sales. And because you can see, we are actually lower than we were in 2022. This gives you a better sense of it. We're about 10 properties less in 2023 than we were in the same period in 2022. So that's kind of interesting because it is relatively mild, and that does bring the buyers out. And so we're seeing a little bit of caution perhaps with the buyers, because interest rates, as I'll show you in a moment, are actually still at those high levels and actually beginning to creep up too. So we're seeing a little bit of hesitation, a little bit of price consciousness, if you like, in the buyers. And that's why the cumulative sales are somewhat lower. If we look at the sale price to list price ratio, I've just got it as far as January here. We don't really have enough information to give us February, but you can see it's just beginning to tick that little bit higher, just over 100% for the month of January, which is a positive sign, but nowhere near as high as we saw in 2022. So say positive sign, but not on the same scale that we saw in 2022. In terms of average prices, we should be a little cautious with this because we've only got 2 months worth of data. And so the average, if there are very few home sales, in fact, in those 2 months, and so it can get skewed quite easily by a couple of expensive or not so expensive homes that sell. But so far, as I say, we need to kind of treat this one with a little bit of caution. We have the average price just slightly lower than we saw in 2022. But as you can see from this graph, 2022 was a dramatic increase over what we saw in 2021, even with that slowdown in the second half of the year. What's on the market? Interestingly, that we've got 4 properties just came on, actually, as it turns out, below $1 million, but we've got 6-7 properties over that $1 million, and that's really been the change we've seen in Arlington over the last few years. We've seen Arlington move to a higher price point. New construction coming into the town, it has pushed the average price higher, but also the distribution has got more homes selling in those higher price points. And you can see that here. We've got 7 properties over $1 million on the market right now, but that's a very low number at the moment. As I said, just because we really haven't got going with the spring market, we'll anticipate in March when the weather improves that a lot more will come on. But that's currently where we are with the inventory, just 4 properties below $1 million. and then 7 properties over $1 million. Take a look now at condominiums. Same idea. We'll show the same graphs for condominiums. Here's the cumulative sales. As you can see, actually condominium sales are higher, but not by very much. About 5 over where we saw. I wouldn't read too much into this because there is a lot of variability in terms of the number of condominiums that sell in any given year. It's not, single family is relatively stable. Condominiums can have some variability to it. So won't read too much into this month in terms of what's happened so far. But clearly as the year goes on, we'll be able to kind of give a little bit more detail around what's happening. So don't read too much into this. In terms of that sale price to list price ratio, that magic ratio, as it were, interesting to see that for condominiums in the second or the last quarter, the second half, but specifically the last quarter, was below 100%. So that's a homes come on the market for 800, or condominiums comes on for 800. They sell for less than that. It's 775, 750. So we've seen that ratio lower in the second half, actually, but specifically in the last quarter of 2022. Some of that, of course, because of who's impacted by higher interest rates. It does tend to have a more pronounced effect on first-time home buyers than it does on buyers that have homes to sell. They have more equity. They're not necessarily pushing that 80% borrowing limit. Perhaps they're a little bit lower than that because of the equity they have in their existing home. First-time home buyers tend not to be in that situation. And so the mortgage interest rates did have a more of an impact, stronger impact on the first-time home buyers. And predominantly condominiums are first-time home buyers territory. And that's why we're seeing that ratio below 100% for condominiums. In terms of average price, slightly higher, not by very much, perhaps by $25,000 maybe. So not much to say in that. I say don't read too much into this data today. It'll have much more relevance, as we do the April, May, and June market updates. So not much to say really about the average sale price there. In terms of what's on the market, not very much, as it turns out. Excuse me, there's 8 condominiums on the market. Interestingly, 6 of those are, around about that $1 million mark, which is definitely above the average and is on the high side for condominiums. So no surprise there, I think, that we're seeing 6 of the 8 at those higher price points staying on the market. So not really a surprise there, I think it's fair to say. In terms of condominiums, more difficult to sell those more expensive condominiums than it is to sell the lower price ones. Say the average around about 800,000. So 6 out of the 8 are higher than the average. So no surprise that they're still sitting on the market. Take a kind of wider perspective here in terms of what's going on. For those of you who've seen presentations that we've given before, this was really COVID. Changing housing demands drove the market. That's really over at this point. It's finished. The effect of COVID, the effect on the housing market of COVID is really worked itself out, if you like. And so it's back to the demographic changes that we're seeing seeing first-time home buyers, downsizers really driving the market. That's specifically true in Arlington, of course. It finds itself in a great position. Downsizers from some of the more expensive towns around, Lexington, Winchester, Belmont, example. But then first-time home buyers looking to move into the town because it's got a vibrant center, close to Boston, and so on. So Arlington finds itself really as the great town for both downsizers and first-time home buyers, which is the 2 yellow bars you see here in the demographic graph we're showing. That's really what's driving the market. And that's why the Arlington market, even though we are seeing something of a slowing down than we saw certainly in the first half of 2020, was still a very strong market. And so that's kind of worth pointing out. In terms of mortgage interest rates, well, this is all the way from 2000. You can see the last time interest rates were at the level they're at was around about 2007-8, basically the crash, which is well over a decade ago. And actually, if you kind of focus a little bit on the what's happened over the last couple of weeks, certainly this of February and part of January, interest rates beginning to tick up. We'll see where they go. I mean, it's hard to know, to be honest, listening to what people are saying. There's so much information coming in about, are the Fed going to increase rates? When are they going to reduce them? Some people think soon, some people not. So difficult, I think, to make a judgment in terms of where interest rates are going. But it's pretty clear that they're not dropping rapidly. They may rise slightly, but they're certainly not dropping rapidly. I'm going to kind of show this graph. Hopefully it's clear, but we don't normally show this, but I thought it would be useful to give you a sense of what we see this time of year and how it changes. So what I've tried to show here is the distribution of offers you get on a home. It really does follow a bell curve. The pink line there is the list price in that kind of range. And as you can see here, most of the offers, certainly in this time of year, are higher than the list price. And the reason for that is that there aren't that many homes on the market. Inevitably, no surprise here, of course, there are a couple of offers, one or two, that are much, much higher than the list price. It resonates with somebody. Somebody really does want to move into the town. They're fed up of their rental's coming to an end, whatever it may be. But those successful offers really are at the kind of the far end of the bell curve. So that's kind of where we see ourselves today in an ordinary early part of the spring market. As we move forward, so this bell curve shifts back so that we tend not to have so many very high offers. That wasn't necessarily the case in 2022, early 2022, because those buyers are bought, actually. They've kind of already bought. And so it begins to shift back. So we get a much more, the ratio begins to kind of creep back. The sell price list price ratio does tend to creep back. So it's much closer to the list price. So today in January, February, March, when there aren't many homes on the market, some of these outliers do tend to sell for quite a high price. And we should be cautious that we don't think that because one home sold for a really high price, that all homes will sell for a really high price. It may just have been one or two buyers. It may just have resonated with the house. They may just have, that's the area they're always looking for. Whatever it is, there's a reason they paid that. But the majority of offers that were received were far less than that high price. And as the year goes on, as the spring market kind of unfolds, so those people able, willing to offer those very high prices begins to decline because they've already bought. So it does tend to kind of shift back as the spring market unfolds. So given all of that, given where we are, what do we think's happening in the market? Well, it's kind of early days, it's fair to say. We've only got 2 months of data, but I think we are beginning to see not quite a return to a more stable market. It still looks like it's very much a seller's market, but buyers becoming more cautious. And so, what we really need to think about as a seller is going back to basics at the end of the day. As you think about pricing, you really do need to think about pricing in terms of what is the right price for this home. Not too low, not too high, of course, but what's the right price for the home? Because that will bring the buyers in as they begin to understand where prices are in 2023. A house that is overpriced, buyers tend to ignore. A house that is well priced, buyers will come in and they will look at it. And as I just showed with the price distribution, perhaps one or two will push that price just that little bit higher with competition kicking in. So pricing is absolutely critical in this time of year if you're putting your home on the market. You also need to create a product that people like. I mean, you really do need to prepare the home ready for sale. It needs to be move-in ready. That's the kind of the buzzword, if you like, because that's what buyers want. And specifically, if buyers are being pushed, perhaps to the most they can afford, given the high prices, but also given high interest rates, they really don't have very much money left over. And so creating a home that is move-in ready That's what the buyers are looking for. Very few are looking for a fixer-upper. Most are looking for a home to move into. Then, of course, you have to, again, back to creating that product, stage the home, market the home to get it in front of buyers and get them, to say, yes, this is the house I want. It's in the right area. This has got everything I want. It's move-in ready. It's beautifully presented. I really like this. I want to move in. And that's absolutely key. So pricing, preparation of the home, staging of the home, and then the marketing of the home, that's what really will bring the buyers in and will get you top dollar for the home, even in what looks to be certainly nowhere near as buoyant as we saw in early 2022, and perhaps following on from the market conditions we saw in the second half of 2022. So that's our March market update for Arlington. Hope you enjoyed that. Lots more information on our website. And with that, I will say goodbye and I'll see you again next month. Bye.